It might surprise you, but there's a really good chance the device you're watching this on right now is running code written in a language from the 1970s. Pretty wild, right? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and demystify C, the invisible powerhouse that literally shaped the digital world as we know it. Okay, so think about this for a second. What's the one thing that connects your computer's operating system, the complex software running in your car, and even the game engines that power your absolute favorite virtual worlds? The answer might not be what you think. It's not a dozen different newfangled technologies, but one single foundational language that's been the bedrock for decades. Yep, the answer is C, a programming language born way back in the 70s that is still the architectural backbone of our modern tech world. And listen, this isn't just some historical accident. It's a huge testament to the raw power and incredible efficiency of C. So, how on earth did a language from the era of bell-bottoms and disco become the absolute bedrock of our digital world? Well, let's jump in our time machine, trace its origins, and really uncover the reasons for its amazing staying power. C's story kicks off in 1972, and it started from a very practical need. A guy named Dennis Ritchie at Bell Labs needed a better tool to build the Unix operating system. Then, its popularity just exploded with the now famous K&R book in '78. By 1989, the ANSI C standard made it official, making sure code could run consistently everywhere. And if you fast forward to today, C is still the absolute gold standard for anything that needs to be super fast and super reliable. So what's the secret sauce? Why is C still such a big deal? Well, it really boils down to a few key things. First up, efficiency. C gives you direct, low-level access to the computer's memory, which means you get blazing fast performance. Second, portability. You can write your C code once and, with very few tweaks, run it on almost any machine out there. Third, it's foundational. If you master C, you've got a massive head start on understanding other huge languages like C++ and Java. And finally, just raw power. The very core of the operating systems we use every single day, Windows, macOS, Linux, it's all built with C. Okay, so maybe you're thinking, all right, I get it, C is important, but what do you actually need to start writing it? Let's check out the Essential Toolkit, and you might be surprised at just how simple it is to get going. Believe it or not, you really only need two main things. First, you need a text editor, or what's called an IDE. That's just your workspace where you'll type out your code. And second, you need a C compiler. This is the magic piece of software that translates what you wrote into a language the computer can actually understand and run. Yeah, a great way to think of the compiler is like a universal translator. You write your instructions in C, and the compiler converts them into machine code, which is the native language of the computer's brain, its processor. Without that compiler, your program is really just a plain old text file. All right, toolkit's ready. Let's pop the hood and take a look at the anatomy of a C program. There's a fundamental blueprint that almost every C program follows, and we're about to dissect it. You'll see that pretty much every C program has a similar structure. It usually starts with some comments explaining what it does, then a link section where you can pull in libraries of pre-written code. But the real heart of the program, where all the action kicks off, is called the main function. Now let's zoom in on this main function, because this is the most important part. It is the absolute core of every single C program. I don't care how big or small the program is. The computer's first stop is always main function. This is the starting line, where execution begins, no exceptions. Okay, time to actually learn how to speak the language. We're going to start with the fundamental building blocks. The vocabulary, the punctuation, and the containers that let you communicate your instructions to the computer. Think about it like this. Just like English is made up of words, numbers, and punctuation, C is made up of what we call tokens. These are the tiniest individual pieces of a program. Things like keywords like int or if, and operators like the plus or equal signs. They're basically the atoms of the C language. So where do we put all our data? Well, we use variables. And the easiest way to think of a variable is just like a labeled box or a container. You give it a name, you put some data inside it, and you can use it later. It's your way of telling the computer, hey, save me a little spot in your memory and call it this. But here's the catch. Before you put anything in that box, you have to tell C what kind of stuff is going to go in there. And that's where data types come in. They specify the type of value a variable is allowed to hold. Is it a whole number, a number with a decimal, or just a single letter? You've got to declare it right up front. Here's a super simple comparison. To store a whole number, like someone's age, you'd use the int data type, which is short for integer. But for numbers with a decimal point, like GPA, you'd use float. It's all about telling the compiler what kind of data to expect so it can handle it properly. All right, we've got the tools, we've got the basic building blocks, let's put it all together. We are going to walk through the absolute classic first program that pretty much every coder in history has written. Hello, world. And here it is. Now, I know if you've never seen code before, this might look like a foreign language. And, well, it is. But trust me, every single piece of this has a simple, logical purpose. This little program actually uses everything we've just talked about. Let's break this down line by line. First, that hashtag include stdio.h line tells the compiler to include a library of tools for standard input and output. This is what gives us access to cool, pre-written functions, like the one in step 3. Next, int main. There it is again. That's our program's official starting line. Then printf. This is the function from that library that just prints whatever text is in the quotes to the screen. And finally, return 0. That's just our way of telling the operating system, hey, everything went great, we're done here. Now, I want you to look really closely at this little guy right here, the semicolon. This thing is so important. Think of it like a period at the end of a sentence in English. It tells the compiler that you're done with that instruction and ready for the next one. Forgetting it is a rite of passage for every new C programmer, so keep an eye out for it. And this quote just nails it. It really drives home just how important that main function is. You can have a file full of code, but if there's no main function, it's just a text file. It doesn't do anything. Main is what turns it into a program that can actually, well, function. And that's a wrap on our crash course in C. From the operating system in your laptop to the software in your smart fridge, C is the silent, powerful architect of our digital world. Now that you've had a peek at its power, the only question left is, what are you going